Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to Season 2 Part 7 of What If Toga Was in 1A. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Uraraka backed up into a tree, as she winced from her injury that pressed against the tree. She looked towards her friend, as Toga closed in on her. Toga looked at Uraraka's eyes that shifted down to the knife she had attacked Spinner with. Toga giggled, and gently caressed Uraraka's face. Don't be scared, Toga said with a wide smile. I would never kill you. I love you after all. Uraraka let out a cry of pain as Toga bit into Uraraka's neck to get her blood. It wasn't nearly as much as last time, but the warmth and freshness made it far better than before. Toga. Uraraka gripped her friend's shoulder, who was too focused on her blood to register her friend at the moment. Himiko, I don't like this. Stop. Uraraka didn't wish to hurt her friend in order to get her off, but she knew if Toga didn't stop on her own, she would have to force her off. Toga did finally snap back to reality upon her friend's shout. Toga pulled away. She took several steps back to give her a bit more distance from the blood, and to allow herself an easier time to focus. She slowly looked up to look at Uraraka once more. Her fingers tightly gripped the handle of the blade the moment she saw her friend's face. It was full of fear, and with two small streams of tears. Despite her blood high, she was filled with guilt over hurting her friend the way she had. Achako. Toga could feel a tear roll down her own face as she covered her mouth with her free hand. I didn't mean to. Her face then gained a hint of realization upon the memories of similar experiences in the past. The first day of school with Izuku, Toga's reaction had been a point of interest. How she acted in her fight with Bakugo, and when she found her in the hallway after Izuku's match with Shoto. Toga had been facing the way towards the infirmary where Izuku would have been sent. She had that same look on her face from that day, which meant Toga had likely been trying to stop herself from hurting Izuku. So many memories came back that just made so much sense now to Uraraka. It had always been small ones until they had started UA. The bigger times had been after she started working directly with her main quirk as well. Uraraka's eyes then grew wide. The day at the pool, Toga had acted on that day too. Uraraka feared for her friend the more she thought about it. They had been constantly working on their quirks recently as well. Uraraka could only imagine how badly this had all been a strain on her friend, as well as only explain to her further why Toga had been so dead set on proving her father wrong, along with why her father had been afraid of Toga in the first place. Before either could speak further, a man's voice called out, "I Spinner, that scream better have been you getting that Toga girl, cause we're running out of time." "We got plenty of time," Twice called over as he rushed into the clearing. "Whoa, boring." He looked at the scene before him, then more directly to Toga, who never broke her eye contact with Uraraka. Uraraka shifted the best she could to a defensive stance when she saw the new arrival. "So any chance you come with me willingly?" he asked as a mild joke, slowly inching towards Spinner to pick him up. Toga finally closed her eyes and loosened her grip on the knife she still held. She nodded softly at the man's question. "Well, that was easy." "No, it wasn't," Twice replied in surprise, as the man picked up his friend. Uraraka shifted towards Toga with wide, pleading eyes. She reached weakly out to Toga, who looked back at her with teary eyes. "Toga, it's not too late, please," Uraraka pleaded as Toga slowly walked back over to Uraraka. "You can go to quirk therapy. Things don't have to be this way. You don't belong with them." Toga gently grabbed Uraraka's hand she had outstretched. Uraraka smiled weakly for a moment, only for it to slowly fade away at Toga's sad expression. "I could breathe for the first time a few days ago. I felt so free. My fears and uncertainties were gone. I felt like I could be who I am for the first time without fear. If I stay, I would be suffocating myself all over again." Toga glanced to where she had hurt Uraraka, then back into her friend's eyes. "I don't belong here. Heroes don't hurt their friends, Achako." Uraraka started to shake her head, but before she could speak, Toga cut in. "But at least I know one thing. My feelings of love may be swayed with blood, but they're still real. Please don't follow me." With a single strike to Uraraka's head, Toga knocked Uraraka out. She gently laid her down in the grass with a kiss to her forehead. Toga then wrapped up her friend's neck with her handkerchief she normally kept on her person. She then stood up and looked at Twice. "Let's go." She wiped the tears from her face and followed him away. Meanwhile, back with the other students, Bakugo fell backwards, narrowly avoiding a touch from Mr. Compress. Suddenly, Muscular raced over from the forest to strike his ally. Mr. Compress fell to the ground out cold. Bakugo watched with the other students as they stared dumbfounded at the large man who raced over to attack Moonfish. As the fight began, Izuku and Hitoshi arrived on the scene. "Bakugo, Shoto, come on, let's go while they're distracted," Izuku pleaded as he raced over. "I ain't running, nerd," Bakugo shouted back. "Neither will I, they still have fumigage," Shoto calmly stated before he darted towards the knocked-out Mr. Compress. Izuku then shouted out at Bakugo as he raced into the heat of the battle between Moonfish and Muscular. Izuku focused himself before he raced over to join the fight as well to back Bakugo up. Hitoshi sighed a tired sigh before he raced over to Shoto to help him out. I swear the longer I spend time with your class the more I realize how stupid you all surprisingly are, Hitoshi muttered. Shoto refused to comment on the matter. Instead he explained what the villain had done to Fumikage. With the new information, Hitoshi began to pat him down with Shoto. After they found no results with a general search, Hitoshi paused and thought about the situation a bit more. After another moment of looking the man over, Hitoshi then removed the villain's mask. When he saw the open part for his mouth, he decided to try his luck. Hitoshi then reached into the man's mouth where he found and pulled out the small marble-like orb. We need to leave now, Hitoshi said just in time for Moonfish to land several strikes on Muscular. The hit took Muscular down swiftly. As it hit though, Bakugo and Izuku both landed a hit at the same time on Moonfish. The villain was taken down just as swiftly as his ally. The students looked to each other as they regrouped, their eyes laid upon the marble that Hitoshi held. After much debate, they decided to head back with Mr. Compress in tow to figure out how to free their classmate. With that, they raced off. Toga and Twice then emerged from some bushes near the clearing once the others were gone. Twice hadn't liked allowing the kids to attack his allies, but given the situation and a quiet request to stay back from Toga, he agreed. He also seemed to love the idea at the same time, or at least said he did. He was hard to read. The two of them entered the clearing as Twice explained that this was supposed to be the evacuation point, as well as the fact that they still had a few minutes before the portals would open. Toga nodded in understanding while she avoided looking at Spinner. She then told Twice that he should try to wrap up the man's injuries with Spinner's scarf and wraps while they waited. Twice agreed and started to do so. He wanted to ask the girl for help, but by now could figure out what her whole deal was. Given that fact as well as the one that she still was carrying around a knife, the man decided not to ask her to help tend to blood-related injury. As Twice worked, Toga's eyes shifted over to the sound of shifting grass. Her eyes met with a stunned Izuku who looked over her form that easily painted the picture of recent events. The look on his face was similar to Uraraka's. He didn't look at her like she was a friend, but as a monster that ate his friend. He tried to suppress the look, which he failed horribly at, almost as horribly as his forced smiles. Twice looked up to see the boy, and shifted to get up, but stopped as Toga held up a hand to stop him. Toga, what's going on? Izuku asked carefully. Not gonna lie, probably exactly what it looks like. Toga replied simply. You're not going with them, Toga. Izuku's face grew more serious, and filled with concern for the girl. You're not like them. You're not a villain. I'm sorry, Izuku, but I am going. I'm not sure what I am at this point, though what I do know is that I'm also not a hero. Not like you or the others, Toga replied simply. Izuku took a few steps forward with a shake of his head. I can't believe that, Toga. You're a good person. I don't care if you attacked a villain the way you did. You belong here with us, Izuku stated firmly. Toga sighed with her eyes closed as she shifted into Uraraka. She opened her eyes to see Izuku's shocked expression. I didn't just attack him, Toga replied simply. Why, Toga, she was your friend. Izuku frowned his brows then. Exactly my point, Izuku. Toga smiled a sad smile. She's not too far from here. Go save her, someone who actually needs saving. Izuku then shifted into a battle-ready stance. Lighting began to crackle around him. Uraraka is more than capable of handling herself. I have faith in her. I came back this way to make sure that the villains wouldn't get away, while the others got the teachers. Which means I can't let you go either, Toga, he said seriously. No, like she actually probably could use some help. Before Toga could finish, she let out an eep as Izuku rocketed towards her. You're fast. I forgot. Crap. Izuku grabbed the collar of her sweater as Toga thanked the fact that it wasn't a punch, as well as the fact that Izuku seemed still determined not to seriously hurt her. Toga twisted her body to let the boy pass. As she did so, she used the knife to cut her sweater to free herself from his grip. The boy skidded away from her before he tossed the piece of sweater away. The boy darted back towards her once again. Twice called over to her while he pointed to a familiar-looking shadowy portal. She needed to get past Izuku, while also needed to avoid him following her as well. An idea came to mind then. If her last theory was correct, then she had a way to get by him. She had watched Uraraka use her quirk countless times. Toga then reached forward to grab the wrist Izuku had outstretched toward her. Toga could feel her stomach turn as Izuku suddenly floated into the air. Due to the momentum built up from his previous speed and assisted redirection from Toga, he proceeded to rocket over Toga's head towards the forest. Toga then bolted for the portal with Twice as she bit back the nausea that came from Uraraka's power. Once they neared the portal, Toga put the handle of the knife into her mouth to hold with her teeth. She then leapt towards the portal, looked back towards Izuku, then placed her fingertips together to make him fall into a tree below that broke his fall. She popped through the darkness of the portal and fell to the bar's floor. Toga pulled the knife from her mouth as she groaned, gripping her stomach. I'm gonna heave, she said before she covered her mouth. Someone get her a bucket. I just finished mopping that floor, Kurogiri said with a sigh. Twice, that's not one of the designated three. Shigaraki said with an annoyed tone. Yes it is. It's Toga. No it's not. Twice replied as he started to carry Spinner off to get proper medical treatment. That looks nothing like Toga. Stop lying to me. Shigaraki replied as he scratched at his throat. Magni brought over a bucket for Toga. Toga let the flesh finally fall off her form to reveal her true form. She then looked up to see who was before her. Her eyes grew wide upon the sight of the man. She remembered him well from the attack at USJ, as well as the mall given his similar scratching mannerism. She gripped the knife in her hand tightly. Magni gently touched her hand to get her attention. Hi, you can call me Big Sis Mag. I'm going to take this off you, okay? Magni informed the younger girl. Toga stared at her for a moment before she loosened her grip to allow her to take the knife. No doubt that they wanted to avoid her lashing out with it. Toga let herself sigh as she stuck her head into the bucket. Of course, she ran off with the villains that happened to work for the guy who had attacked and stalked her friends. Okay, so maybe the others were sorta right that she didn't belong with these specific villains. The next day, Uraraka woke up in the hospital. She shot forward as she called out to her friend to not go. Izuku gently gripped her arm to calm her down. The girl looked about the room filled with concerned friends and two of her teachers. She though failed to spot Toga. As she looked about, her eyes met Toga's mother's. Toga's mother from the hallway peeked in from the hospital room's window. Next to the mother was Toga's father, who also looked genuinely concerned for the news that they likely were waiting on about their daughter. Then the question hit that crushed Uraraka's heart into a million pieces. What happened? Aizawa asked straight to the point. Uraraka knew if she told the truth, most would see Toga as a traitor, a villain, and potential murderer. She by now knew the struggle Toga had to prove she was a good person to her father. If she told the truth, all the work would go down the drain. Her friend had stopped at her request and managed to control herself. She knew that her friend likely was struggling with her quirk. Even if Toga had hurt her, she couldn't hold something her friend was actively trying to control against her. She was pretty upset she had just knocked her out as well. But the situation wasn't really the best one, so Toga had likely thought that was the best plan of action. Uraraka sighed and began to explain. A villain attacked us. They tried to get Toga to go with them, but she refused to, so he attacked. I moved to intercept, but he got me in the back. Toga took him down the best she could. I let her bite me for my blood in case she would need it for some reason. We were attacked again shortly after, and she left with them to keep me safe. I passed out before I could stop her. Uraraka explained with a frown. She must have needed your blood for your quirk. Bakugo stated simply like it was clear. What? Uraraka asked, confused. Izuku said she used your quirk to stop him from following her. She likely knew she could possibly use your quirk with your blood. He said flatly. Right. I knew she didn't attack you. She must have just told me she did to get me to leave so no one else would be hurt. Izuku said with a growing smile. Of course she did. She's not an idiot Deku like you. Bakugo replied simply. After a further explanation of what happened after Uraraka passed out, Aizawa left to inform Toga's parents of what happened. Both seemed visibly relieved at the news that their daughter hadn't attacked Uraraka, though grew saddened again as Aizawa seemed to reassure them that they would find her soon, which only reminded the parents that their daughter was kidnapped. Bakugo and the others stayed with Uraraka for a while longer before all but Bakugo left to check on the other injured classmate. Bakugo closed the door once the last of them left. He then sat back down beside Uraraka, who looked visibly nervous. Good cover. Now tell me what that Idot actually did. She's been acting weird lately, and I'm tired of being told nothing's wrong when clearly something is, he said, visibly annoyed. You noticed that too? Uraraka asked, surprised. Of course I did. I'm not as stupid as the rest of these guys. Now hurry up and tell me before someone comes in, he stated flatly. Uraraka tensed but nodded. She explained everything, starting from the forest, then backtracked to what she had pieced together the other night about what was going on with Toga. Bakugo agreed that it was more than likely her quirk that was the issue, since she seemed to be an even bigger freak when she used her main one. Uraraka pouted at her friend's situation only for Bakugo to grumble out something. Quit pouting. This is bad, but also good. This means that it's something that can be trained to resist. Every quirk has its downsides. This is just likely one of hers that she has had little exposure to. All this means is that we need to tell the teachers the truth about what happened, he stated firmly. Bakugo, if we do, she started but was cut off by a look from Bakugo. Then she'll still have the people who truly care about her, while the losers in her life leave. If we don't, and she falls too far into this side of herself, they may assume the worst and arrest her without knowing her situation. Or worse, she may end up doing something she'll only regret later. We need to tell them so when they find her they know she's just a victim of her own quirk and needs help, he stated firmly. Okay, Uraraka said after a moment of silence. Back with Toga, the young girl slowly made her way out from the back room as she rubbed her eyes. She had a long night of restless sleep due to her situation, mixed with the long debates the group had on if they should have tied her up or not, given her willingness to go with them. She slowly rolled up her sleeves to the white dress shirt she now wore in replacement to her sweater that was now far from saving. Thankfully, the bar had a shirt that actually was in her size. Mostly, the sleeves and torso were a bit too long for her liking. Thankfully, rolled up sleeves and tucked shirts were a thing which quickly fixed that issue. Good to see you didn't run off at night, Spinner said as he ate at the counter. Good to see I didn't accidentally kill you, Toga said softly with an apologetic look. You were protecting a friend. It's all right, Spinner replied as Toga sat down. Right, Toga replied a bit less certain of how alright the situation actually was. Hirajiri grabbed her some cereal and slid it over towards her. Toga nodded in thanks and began to eat in silence. A silence that taunted her for what she had done the night before, by replying to her friends' words along with all of their faces when they had seen her. Thankfully, that silence didn't last too long as Dabai walked in, followed closely behind by Twice, who seemed to be thoroughly annoying the man. Toga couldn't help but smile a bit at how they bickered. It reminded her of the silly chatter of her classes at UA. Even the silence that ensued from Shigaraki ordering them to stay silent reminded her of her classes in a way. A twisted one, but still in a way. You've had the night to rest. I need to know, are you joining us? At our side you can help us take down the society that has been holding you back all your life, telling you what you can and can't be based on your quirk alone. All the while heroes obsessed with fame and glory allow others to suffer when they can save them. Shigaraki restated his proposal from the night before, that Toga had requested more time to think on after it was offered. We've seen you with those heroes. Especially after last night, it's very clear you have to hide who you are all the time. With us you can be anyone you want to be. Ladies like us shouldn't be stuck in situations where we can't be ourselves, Sugar, Magni said from a booth with a soft smile. It's not healthy. Toga really couldn't stand Shigaraki, not after what he had done to her friends and teachers. But Magni wasn't wrong. She wasn't certain if she would stick with this group considering who their leader seemed to be, and the fact they all openly thought kidnapping children was a good idea. She still knew that she didn't feel like she belonged with her friends. Either way, she also knew that if she told them she wouldn't be joining them, she would no doubt be tied up to function as a true kidnapped child. Fine, but for what Big Sis said, Toga said simply. Shigaraki seemed a bit displeased at her clarification, but accepted it. Twice cheered and booed while Dabai gave her a silent nod. Magni sat beside her with a smile, as Spinner shared how he was glad to have another Stain follower on the team. Glad to be here, Toga said half-heartedly as she went back to her cereal. A bit later, back with Uraraka, who was now all healed up, she and Bakugo went to Vlad, Aizawa, and All Might while they all spoke. Vlad and Aizawa soon had to depart for a press conference that would happen soon. All Might also needed to be on his way as well to enact his own plans. Once they moved to a more secure location, Bakugo began to explain the situation with Toga. At the news, All Might looked serious, while Aizawa held a look of guilt, and Vlad punched the wall. I should have known there was a risk of that, Vlad shouted at himself. It's not your fault, Vlad. I encouraged her to use her main quirk more. If I hadn't, she wouldn't likely be in this situation, Aizawa said as he rubbed his temple. Stop it, both of you, All Might demanded. Yes, this could have been handled better if we had better knowledge of the situation beforehand. We didn't, though, due to the girl hiding it. Based on what the students have explained, it's no doubt that she was scared to do so. Sadly, we have moved past the point of correcting past failures. What we can do now is provide her the support she needs now, before she goes too far and can no longer be saved. She left because she felt she didn't belong here. So now all we must do is prove her wrong, that she has a family and home here with us, that no matter her flaws, she is loved and cared about. That, I believe, is something we can all do. After all, we're heroes. Saving people and instilling hope in others is exactly what heroes do. All Might started with a beaming smile that easily lifted the mood in the room. All Might told them to not spread Toga's state and situation for now in case there was a spy in UA that could use the knowledge to push Toga too far into villainy. He explained the suspicions of possibly there being a spy at UA after the villains had found the hidden camp to attack. He then explained that there are already a few leads on the villains' main base location, so the students wouldn't try to run off on their own yet. He explained that the current situation was a very tricky one, but if handled correctly, they may have her home by tonight. She'll have to go to quirk therapy, right? Uraraka asked, to which All Might confirmed with a nod. That means we'll have to tell her parents. If we do, her father may just cast her away all over again. If he does, then he will have a strong word with me, and Toga will have a safe place to go where no one will judge her upon her quirk alone, Vlad stated firmly. I will not allow a situation where that child has to fear asking for help again. Well said, Vlad. Now, let's get our student back, All Might declared with a confident smile. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We The Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We The Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.